One of the men who escaped was Frank Morris. He was born in Washington, D.C., and his childhood was marked by hardship. He spent most of his early years moving between foster homes, never knowing stability, never having a place to call home. As a teenager, Morris drifted toward crime. His first serious offenses were armed robberies, and because of his intelligence, which was far above average, he managed to outsmart guards and escape from juvenile and later adult facilities more than once. By the early 1950s, his criminal career was accelerating. He was first imprisoned for armed robbery in the mid-1950s. Over the next 10 years, he cycled in and out of multiple correctional institutions across the country. Everywhere he went, he earned the same reputation. He was an expert escape artist. He had already escaped from prisons in Florida and Louisiana. Authorities became increasingly frustrated. No matter where they placed him, he found a way out. By the late 1950s, officials realized that Morris needed to be isolated somewhere escape was considered impossible. After yet another failed escape attempt in 1960, he was classified as extremely dangerous. And so, on January 18, 1960, Frank Morris was transferred to Alcatraz, the most secure prison in the United States. At the same time, 2 other future escapees were serving their sentences, John and Clarence Anglin. They were born into a poor farming family. Every summer, the family moved north to work in the fields. As children, John and Clarence learned to swim in the freezing lakes of Michigan, a skill that, years later, would play a crucial role in the most famous prison escape in American history. Their criminal activity began when they were in their early 20s. At first, it was small thefts, breaking into homes, petty robberies. But by 1958, the brothers had escalated to bank robbery. Their most significant arrest happened on January 17th of that year, when they were caught attempting to rob a major bank in Alabama. Both were sentenced to 20 years in prison. John was sent to the Atlanta penitentiary, and Clarence joined him shortly after. While in Atlanta, they attempted to escape by digging a tunnel through a wall. The attempt failed, but it was enough to get them labeled as high-risk prisoners. Because of this, on October 21, 1960, John Anglin was transferred to Alcatraz. Clarence followed 1 year later. Once reunited, they immediately began planning what they hoped would be the greatest escape of their lives. The night of the escape, the evening in Alcatraz began like any other. After dinner, inmates returned to their cells. Guards patrolled the blocks at regular intervals. Everything appeared routine. No one suspected that 3 men, Morris and the Anglin brothers, had a plan months in the making. When the lights went out and night duty began, all 3 inmates lay quietly in their beds, pretending to sleep. They had memorized the guard's schedule, how often they walked past the cells, how long each patrol took. After about 30 minutes, the guards performed their usual round. In each of the 3 cells, they saw what looked like sleeping prisoners. But the sleeping men were lifelike dummy heads, made from soap, toilet paper, paint, and even real human hair collected from the prison barbershop. For several months, the men had been secretly digging tunnels behind the ventilation grates. Every night, Morris and the Anglins chipped away at the concrete using improvised tools, spoons stolen from the cafeteria, and drills made from old vacuum cleaner motors. When the guards completed their check, the men slipped through the ventilation shafts into a service corridor, a poorly monitored area of the prison. From there, they had to move quickly and silently toward the pipes and shafts that led to the roof. Hidden in a dark corner of this corridor were the items that made the escape possible: a homemade inflatable raft, painstakingly crafted over months from stolen raincoats. The rubber was sealed together with heat and glue to make it watertight. The men also made paddles using pieces of wood and scrap materials. These tools, crude but effective, were their only hope of surviving the icy waters of San Francisco Bay. Within minutes, the escape team reached the rooftop. Below them, were the cold, dark waters of the bay. In the distance, the city lights shimmered, and beyond the city, their intended destination, Angel Island, about 2 miles to the north. A heavy fog had settled over the bay that night. The escapees considered this a stroke of luck. Poor visibility meant fewer chances of being spotted. They moved cautiously across the roof. Soon they reached a 15-meter drop. Using a drainpipe, they slid down to the ground below. From there, they headed toward the shoreline. They inflated their makeshift raft and put on life vests, also crafted from stolen raincoats. By midnight, everything was ready. They climbed into the raft and pushed off. The raft was flimsy and unstable. Any strong wave could tear it apart or flip it over. The men had studied tides and currents, hoping to use them to their advantage. As they paddled into deeper water, the waves grew stronger. They fought to stay balanced, knowing that a single mistake could cost them their lives. If they were thrown into the icy water, hypothermia could kill them within minutes. The discovery. Early the next morning, guards began their rounds. When they reached the cells of Morris and the Anglin brothers, no one responded. Thinking the inmates were asleep, they entered the cells, only to discover the dummy heads. Instant panic swept through the prison. Sirens were activated. Alcatraz went into full lockdown. All entrances were sealed. Other inmates were confined to their cells. Guards searched every corner of the prison. News of the escape spread quickly. Within hours, the prison warden, Olin Blackwell, and federal agents joined the investigation. The initial search focused on the island itself. Investigators soon discovered clues. Improvised tools, including bent spoons and a homemade drill made from a vacuum cleaner. In the ventilation shafts, they found evidence confirming that the prisoners had dug their way out over months. The next step was to expand the search beyond Alcatraz. The FBI, the Coast Guard, and local police launched a massive operation. Helicopters circled overhead. Boats scanned the waters of the bay. Police searched the coastlines of San Francisco and nearby islands. So soon, they found the first piece of evidence, a wooden paddle floating near Angel Island. Shortly after, they discovered several raincoats washed ashore, the same kind used to build the raft. This supported the theory that the escapees had aimed for the northern shoreline. But despite all the clues, there were no bodies, no eyewitness accounts, and no definitive proof of what had happened to the prisoners. The investigation reached a dead end. Theories and mystery. Over the following weeks and months, theories spread across the country. The most common belief was that the prisoners had drowned. San Francisco Bay is known for freezing temperatures, strong currents, and dangerous waves. Surviving a crossing, especially on a homemade raft, seemed nearly impossible. Supporting this theory were personal belongings found near Angel Island. Many believed the men had simply been thrown overboard and lost to the sea. However, others doubted this explanation. People who knew the Anglin brothers pointed out that they were excellent swimmers, raised near the cold waters of Michigan. They were physically tough and mentally resourceful, qualities essential for survival. Some believed the brothers anticipated the dangers and planned accordingly. Then came eyewitness reports. Over the years, several people claimed to have seen the Anglins alive, in Florida, in Georgia, and most famously in South America. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence was a photograph from the 1970s taken in Brazil. It showed two men who looked remarkably like John and Clarence Anglin. Their family insisted that the photo was genuine. A facial recognition analysis later showed a 99% match. But the mystery didn't end there. In 2013, a letter arrived at the San Francisco Police Department. It was allegedly written by John Anglin himself. The writer claimed that all three escapees had survived. According to the letter, Frank Morris died in 2008, and Clarence Anglin passed away in 2011. The author said he was willing to surrender to authorities if they helped him receive medical treatment for cancer. The FBI conducted a detailed investigation of the letter. They tested handwriting, fingerprints, and DNA. But the results were inconclusive. The letter's authenticity was neither confirmed nor disproven, which kept the possibility of survival alive. Over the following decades, federal agencies interviewed hundreds of witnesses, investigated countless tips, and analyzed potential sightings. Yet, no definitive evidence ever emerged. In 1979, the FBI officially closed the case. Responsibility for it was transferred to the U.S. Marshal Service, which still keeps it open today. If any of the escapees are still alive, they would now be in their 90s. Thus ends the legendary story of the escape from Alcatraz, an escape that remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American criminal history. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next episode.